First of all, we're not, I don't think. And I don't have the science to support this. I'm a science person. I love science. A lot of times I have the science to support it. This is not one I have the science to support. But I do not believe that we're actually hardwired for that. And the only reason I say that is if you look at kids, they are absolutely just full of joy. Now, something happens, they're sad, but then they go back to the joy. You look even at young babies. What do they need to be joyful? Their own toes, right? Watch a kid lie on its back and play with its own toes. And what you'll know is we're actually hardwired to joy. Watch the wonder, the excitement. You give the child a present. You're all excited to see its face when it gets into the box and pulls out whatever you've bought for them. But they don't even realize that there is necessarily something in the box. They're so excited by the wrapping paper and the bow and the box itself that you have to keep saying, open it, open it, open it. Like inside there's something, open it. So I think actually, but again, this is purely hypothesis, that we're actually hardwired for joy. What happens, I believe, is that we get trained. And now, interestingly, when you use the word wired, our brains are being formed, not just in utero, but in childhood. I mean, they're even being formed right now, which we now know, but they're being really formed at a very, very rapid and powerful rate in childhood. And so that which we learn as children is literally how our wires get laid. So on that level, yes, we are wired for it, but I don't necessarily think we come into the world wired for it. I think we get trained to be wired for it. And I think that that comes from cultures. Cultures in which, what's emphasized to us is that the sheer enoughness of our lives, the goodness of our lives, that about which we should be happy, is going to come from outside, which we get from the time we're very young. You're going to get your happiness. I mean, go back to the toy example, right? The kid is happy with the box. We're the ones who teach it, no, it's the thing in the box. Then the child watches commercials, gets into the brain, I need this to be happy. I need to eat that type of breakfast cereal. I need to have this toy. We get older, we get a little more sophisticated. Now I need to have those clothes. I need to have this car. I need to look like this. I need to weigh that much. I need to go to these parties. Which is what our culture is telling us. Literally, I mean, if you dissect every single TV commercial, every single magazine advertisement, every single billboard, what we are being told, this is how marketing works, is who you are is not good enough. You can't possibly be happy until and unless you have the thing I'm trying to sell you. Now, from business, it's just business. What's so insidious about it is that even though we may not fall into the particular marketing technique and actually buy those shoes or that handbag or that car, on an unconscious level, we do buy the message, which is that I need something to be better than I am now, to be happier than I am now. It is absolutely impossible to move through that world, to drive down the street seeing billboards, to read magazines, seeing ads these days, to even just check your email, without being inundated with messages that literally are, you are not good enough, you are not enough. Here's what you need to be happier, better, wholer, more worthy. And again, none of us has the pocketbooks to literally buy every single thing we see a billboard for. Most of us have enough common sense to realize, oh, that's just a commercial. But we really do buy the subtle messaging, which is something outside of me is what I need to be happy. And the reason that I mention that is, if that is the case, and even if I'm much deeper than thinking it's going to be a pair of shoes or a handbag, it's going to be my job, it's going to be my spouse, it's going to be my children, it's going to be my home. I'm dependent upon these things for my sense of self, which means, yeah, you better be afraid that something's going to happen to them. Yeah, how could you sit and enjoy the beautiful home you've got without a fear that there's going to be an earthquake, that it's going to burn down, if you've bought into the messaging that this house is an inextricable part of your happiness. It was an inextricable part of your grounding, your centering, your anchoring. I wanted it for so long. Oh my God, I finally got it. It's my dream house. And it's a lot harder when you think about loved ones. Because so much of who we are is so deeply connected with them. And that's where the fear comes in. And the self-sabotage goes again along with this. How can I possibly be good enough, worthy enough of my own happiness? I mean, forget being worthy of something even outside there. First, I've got to be worthy of my own happiness. How can I be worthy of my own happiness? There's so much I don't yet have. There's so many things I haven't yet bought, so many of these vacations I haven't yet gone on, so many of these courses I haven't yet done. That we literally don't feel ourselves worthy of that. And this is where courage comes in. You know, courage, one of the things that I love, that I share about it, is the word literally comes from the same root as the word cœur, which means heart in French. And so courage literally is about having an open heart, which is why experiencing joy takes courage. Because in order for me to really feel joy, I have to open my heart. And when my heart is open, then I actually experience my own enoughness. I actually experience within myself the love and joy. Yeah, you may have catalyzed it. Falling in love with you may have been that which catalyzed my ability to experience love within myself. But that love now exists in me. You go to the market, I don't feel any less love, right? I mean, the air conditioner gives us cold air. The amount of cold air you experience is directly proportional to how close you stand to the air conditioner. If it were on, of course. You get far enough away from it, you no longer feel any cold air at all. Because it's coming from that machine. But the love that I experience by loving you is actually in me. And the way I know that is it doesn't dissipate depending on how far away you are. Go to New York, go to California, I still feel love. Because in loving you, what it's done is it's pulled literally the cap off of my inner geyser of love. And now that's flooding me. But it's inside me. Similar with joy. Yeah, being with you has enabled me to experience joy. But again, the way that I know it's within me is you go to the market but I think of you, I still feel joy. All it requires is me to think about you, which means it's in me. So when I open my heart to really experience real joy, not the joy of something that comes in a box, not the joy of a handbag or shoes or, anything like that, but to experience real joy, my heart must be open. And that's where courage comes in. Because when my heart is open, I realize it's within me. And that I already am enough. That I already have within me the source of joy. The source of love, the source of peace. And so what I would say to you lastly in terms of the self-sabotaging, this is something so many of us do. So many of us do. And simply being aware of it is actually a huge part of it. Because it feeds on our unconscious. But I would go a little bit deeper, because we each do it for slightly different reasons. Each of us has internalized in a slightly different way, in a slightly different language, the you don't deserve your own joy. You're not enough. How dare you experience so much? For some of us, it was a very specific teaching by a parent, by a loved one. For some of us, it was just general osmosis that we picked up in the culture. But do a bit of introspection of within you where that voice came from that said, you're not enough. How dare you? Who do you think you are? Or, who is it you're protecting by staying small? Is there a relationship in your life, currently or in the past, but that you're still psychologically connected with, in which someone else or your relationship with them would be threatened if you stopped needing them so much, if you stopped being so weak, if you stopped being so dependent, if you stopped being so small? Who are you protecting? What relationship are you holding on to? And these are rhetorical questions because I don't know your particular situation, but these are the types of questions to ask yourself. And you may be one who picked it up by osmosis, but you may not. And there may be a very, very literal voice in your head of someone who still matters to you psychically, whose voice you're giving space to in your own psyche. Someone with whom the relationship would be threatened if you no longer bought the unspoken agreement, which is you don't go too far. And so ask yourself, meditate on that, introspect on that, and just constantly try to bring an awareness into it. And when you're in moments of joy, try, instead of allowing the mind to do its when is the other shoe going to drop thing, try to be as out of the mind as possible and as in the body as possible. What does that joy smell like? What does it feel like? What does it look like? So like if I'm in a moment of incredible joy of hugging my beautiful daughters, the nuns who have come to visit us, which is my big source of joy these days. So if I'm in a big group hug with them, instead of allowing my mind to say, oh my God, soon they're going to have to go, which is what most of us do, it's, can you smell it? Can you see it? Can you feel it? Be in the body. It'll pull you out of the mind and more into actually being able to to soak up the experience. And again, since you used the word hardwired, I'll bring just a moment of neurology, which I love, into it. It literally creates much, much stronger neurological patterns in our brain, which means that we're much more able to go back there again when we're pulling in experience from all of our senses. It's how the brain works. If I can smell it, if I can feel it, if I can see it visually, it's going to create a much deeper groove in my conscience, my consciousness, which means it's going to become much more a part of who I am, and I'm going to be able to go back there again. So in those moments, try to just stay out of the mind as much as possible. Be in the breath. What does your breath feel like in joy? What's the I'm in a moment of joy breath? And just keep bringing yourself out of your mind into the breath, into the senses, and soak it up. And that'll help you hold it, and it'll calm the mind from doing that. And once you figure out where for you the voice has come, turn around and talk to it. Wherever it came from, whoever's voice it is, even if it's just the culture, even if you're turning around and talking to your culture. Sorry, guys. Know you've got to make a living. I'm not anti-shopping, not anti-eating, not anti-taking vacations, but not going to buy your message anymore. I'll buy your shoes when I need them, not to make myself feel fuller. I've found on a personal level that a little bit of humor goes a long way in our own psychological, spiritual processes. That taking ourselves a little bit lighter and with a little bit more humor, not making light of it, but being able to see it with light, with a little bit of humor. Okay. Yeah, my 5th grade teacher. So nice to see you again. It's been, 30 years? How you doing? I'm so sorry you were going through the divorce while you were teaching my 3rd grade class. Nice of you to take it out on all of us and convince us that we were just as worthless as you felt. But I'm not going to hold it anymore. Yeah, you pounded it into my brain with all of those hours I had to spend in the corner for having the audacity to have a free thought while you were going through a divorce. But I'm not going to buy it anymore. You know, whoever the voices is, wherever it's come from, mom, dad, whatever, have a conversation with it when it comes in. This is a private party now. It's me and joy. I'll be with you in a little while. Give me half an hour. I'll come back to you. So you're not pushing it away forever. Nothing inside us likes to be pushed away, but just, I'm going to be in joy right now. I'll come hear whatever you have to say in a little while. Okay. Yeah, sure. It brings that which takes place on the subconscious and unconscious level into such a conscious aspect of our lives that it tends to lose that power over us. The unconscious and subconscious can only keep sabotaging our lives or hurting our lives as long as it's unconscious. When we bring it into the light, it tends to just sort of shrivel and melt.